I always start these videos off the same, but it's that time again. Wrap up time! So for April and May, I read 17 books and DNF 2. Buckle in for a long one, grab a coffee and a snack, and let's get straight into it. Stats wise, I don't do a lot of stats. Let me know if you guys do want to see more stats, but these are all the stats that I do. So I DNF 2 books. I read 5 thrillers. I read 4 fantasy/romantasy, 4 dystopian, 1 dark academia, and 2 romance/fiction/dark romance. And then the pages read, which is pretty astronomical. I can't believe I did so well, but I read 7,126 pages altogether. That is all the stats. That is a lot. This time around, I thought I'd change it up a little bit, and I'm going to do my wrap up in categories. Usually I would do it like, say, going from April, what I read in April, and then switch to May and what I did in May, but that can get long and boring. So I've grouped things together in my mind, and that's how we'll go through it. So just to get the negative out the room, we're going to go through my DNFs. The first book, which we'll see in probably my next video, I think, or the one thereafter, I did a 24-hour readathon, and I attempted to read the A Darker Shade of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. I actually DNF'd this just this morning, and I got to page 221, which is a lot, but I just couldn't vibe with it. I've been trying now for a few days. It's been about 4 days or 5 days since I filmed my readathon, and I've tried to pick this book up multiple times. Every time I just get this feeling that it's going to put me into a slump. So I've kind of just decided it's not for me. I think maybe more of like her latest releases I might gel more with, but this is a really old release. There's grammatical errors. I don't understand where the story is going. I don't understand how everything slots together. It just doesn't make sense. If you don't know, it follows our main character Cal, who is an Antara, which is someone who uses blood magic, and he can also use all elements of magic. So earth, wind, fire, all of it. They are like so rare in this society, and there's only 2 of them left, because in earlier years when things went down, they were all killed because they thought they carried dark magic. So in this society, it's like a multiverse. There's 4 different versions of London. We have white London, we have red London, we have black London, and we have grey London. Black London has now been basically closed off and sealed off because people went crazy for money and power, and it just didn't work. So they sealed themselves off. White London is quite the same because they're bordering black London. And then we have red London, who is like a perfectly normal society, use magic as like a gift, and they respect it. And then we have grey London, who now has no more magic. And that's basically as far as I got. And then we have like 3 different timelines, I think it is, and they all connect somehow, but I just didn't gel with the writing style of this. I felt like it was very disjointed, very disconnected, and unfortunately not for me. So I didn't rate this book, obviously, because I DNF'd it. The next book I DNF'd is called Things Bright and Beautiful by Anbara Salam, and I love this cover. That's the whole reason I bought it, to be honest with you. The writing is perfect, the line spacing is perfect, and it just seemed like a book that I would really enjoy. However, it is, what is it called? It is based in like, I think it's New Zealand or Australia, and like an island off the coast called Ascension Island. It covers a lot of like religion and indigenous people, but just the way it was written, it felt like, I don't know if you remember that book I read, The Cloisters. It felt like very factual, and this happened and this happened and this happened, and I wasn't feeling it. I probably read about 20 pages of it, and the way it was written and the language that was used in it, I didn't get. So that's the only reason I DNF'd it. Maybe I could go a bit further in, but the way religion was talked about and how other people's religion is not as good as their religion and Christianity, and I didn't like the way that was written. So unfortunately, it's not for me. I definitely will probably donate this to my library, but I didn't even get into the crux of the story because I couldn't hack the writing. With that out the way, let's go through the rest of the books that I did read and did rate. So the first category we're going to get into is my romance/general fiction/dark romance. I'm not entirely sure where all of it falls, but the first book I have here is definitely a dark romance, and it is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. This I did listen to as my audiobook of the month, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it. It was really funny, really comedic, and really unhinged. So it is about 2 serial killers and they stumble upon each other other on an active scene. He helps her out. I can't remember their names. Sloane and I can't remember his name. Sloane and I want to say Logan, but it's a female main character and a male main character. They stumble upon each other. He helps her out because she's in a sticky situation. They tend to run into each other while committing their crimes, and they decide to come up with this competition where someone else will pick the victim, because the victims aren't really victims. They're all people who have done really bad things, who either kill or predators or something like that. So the two of them have these competitions. Someone else picks the mark, and then the two of them will have a competition of who can get him first. It's a whole love story, but it is a super slow burn, but really, really funny. And I found it hilarious. And now I get the part where everybody was talking about the cookies and cream ice cream. That was actually sick. Like, who would actually put that on a page? But it was a really good time. I did have so much fun listening to it. I did listen to the end of it like on my flight to my honeymoon. So yeah, it was a good time. But unfortunately, I'm going to give that a 3-star because it's not really something I enjoy. I had a good time reading it or listening to it, but it's not something I would pick up again. I don't even think I will read the rest of the series, but I just want to know what the hype was about. It was really funny though. The next is the book that I honestly don't know where to put it, because is it a romance? Is it general fiction? Is it just toxic friends and toxic relationships? I don't know, but I absolutely love this book. Oh my goodness. I love Magnolia and BJ's storyline more than I like Daisy's, but everybody tells me to wait until the next Daisy book and you'll fall in love with them. But I love this book. I love this book. The ending had me in tears and I was in disbelief. Like, I just wanted to finish the series there and then, but I know for me that can cause a burnout. So I'm putting it on hold for a couple of months. But The Long Way Home was great. It had so much feeling in it, like grief and loss and eating disorders, and yeah, it was just so much, and it helped understand BJ and Magnolia so much more. We now understand I now understand why they did what they did to each other and why they act the way they act. But the outcome at the end of their relationship, I really enjoyed, like that journey they went through and what led them there. But the ending, it hit home. It hurt my heart so much. So I would recommend this series so much. The first book is a little bit weird to get into. It seems like just a fun, chaotic book, but it's like reality TV, watching Bravo or something like that. That's what it felt like to me. But I wouldn't compare it to Gossip Girl necessarily, but it does have that same vibe with like Rich Society. But absolutely would recommend these books. I gave this a 4.5. And that is all for that category. So let's move into the next category, which was my mysteries and thrillers. The first one we have here is All That's Left to Say by Emery Lord. Again, I really love this cover, but I need to learn my lesson about judging a book by its cover because it never really works out, does it? I just really want to read you my review that I wrote on Fable, because that is exactly how I feel, and it would summarize it more than I would right now, because we all know I love to yap. So I wrote, I like the concept and the subject discussed, but the route to the conclusion felt long, repetitive, tedious, and a little too childish. Definitely could have executed it better, or maybe done away with the mystery element, as my expectations would have been different. So in that sense, this follows, I mean, I do have a full blog on all of these, but I'm just trying to summarize them quickly. So this follows a girl, I think her name is Hannah, and Hannah and her cousin Sophie are like best friends. They're basically sisters. They grew up together. They live basically down the road from each other, and they do everything together. But when Sophie passes away from a drug overdose, Hannah can't come to terms with it. So she ends up transferring schools and doing all these things to investigate it. She's constantly scheming. When all the answers come to the surface and things are revealed, she still won't let it go, because she doesn't believe that her cousin had it in her. But the evidence is all right there. And what I meant by the childishness was, it's just like, oh, if she had an issue, she would have told me. If she needed this, she would have told me. But sometimes people do that. The people closest to them don't even know that they're suffering through something, because it's harder to tell the people that you love that you're suffering like that, because you think they'd see you in a different light. And I just felt like the way that was dealt with wasn't my favorite. Like, if they hadn't put a mystery element, which was her just literally looking in every dark corner for what could have caused that, and she just wanted to blame the dealers and where she got it from, but she didn't like go to the crux of the problem, which was that her cousin was in a lot of pain. So that it just felt childish and immature, the way that the grief was dealt with, in my opinion. And everybody deals with grief in their own way, I understand that, but reading it myself, it just felt very naive and very childish, like I said. So I ended up giving this a 2-star, which was sad, because I do love books that are about about addiction and recovery and grief in that sense, and knowing why people do what they do. It wasn't the way I wanted it to turn out, in my opinion. Next was a controversial one. This is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, and everybody I watched had bad things to say about this book. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fast-paced, I thought it was witty, I thought it was funny, and I thought that it had just the right amount of suspense in it for me to be sitting on the edge of my seat and keep turning the page. Like, it is sapphic kind of as well, but it follows 5 contestants who enter this writing competition, and they go to a writing retreat thrown by this really famous female author who is giving these people a chance to like learn through her, and she'll teach them tricks. The only problem is they don't get to continue any novel that they've been working on. They actually have to start one from scratch, and every single day at say 8 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, I can't remember what time it was, but they'd have to turn in like 3,000 words or something like that. So they all build this novel, and she gives them feedback, but then people start dropping like flies, and we're trying to find out what is going on. What are they hiding? Why is the staff so weird? Why is the host so weird? And I loved it. I thought it was thrilling. I thought it was amazing. Like, I couldn't stop reading. I just kept turning the page and turning the page and turning the page. You know, that kind of book that just one more chapter. But it did end up giving it a 4-star, and I thought it was absolutely great. One of my subscribers, actually, thank you so much, told me she couldn't wait for me to read it, so I had to put it in a reading vlog as soon as possible, and I felt exactly the same way as her. This book got a lot of hate for absolutely no reason. It's even better than any Frida McFadden that I've read personally. But yeah, 4 stars. The last one in this category is Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this closed off the series. This was the last book in the series, and I was so happy that I could scratch it off. This is a YA series. It's like Criminal Minds / CSI / true crime. It's about 5 teenagers who joined the FBI in this secret little section called, or sector called, the Naturals, and they all have natural abilities. So like Cassie is a natural profiler, so is Dean. Leah's a human lie detector. Michael can detect emotions, and Sloan is like a statistical genius. So they all come together in this sector, and they work on cold cases, which eventually leads to them working on active cases. But all the books somehow connect to one character, and it all slowly unfolds. And I thought it was a good way to round up the series, but I felt like in this book, it is quite thick. We just went on a wild goose chase, and we were thrown off the track, and I know that can happen, but I felt like it needed to be a little bit more direct and a little bit more to the point, because that was what we were all waiting for. But ultimately, I had a great time. I read it on honeymoon, and at the end, there's actually it's called a novella, but it's quite thick for a novella, and it's called 12, and it just is a bunch of stories of them when they were younger and how they ended up like they were. And yeah, it was a great time. So I ended up giving this a 4-star. The series as a whole is a 4-star, and I'd recommend them if you need a palate cleanser or if you're in a slump, because they're so easy to read, so digestible, so easy to understand, and it is YA, so there's no smut in it or anything like that. There is supposed to be a side plot of romance, but in this book I didn't see much of it at all, even in the previous one. So if you're not into that, I think you would really enjoy these. And yeah, it was a really, really fun time, and I'm glad the series is finished, but I'm also sad to see it go. Sorry, I was mistaken. We still have 2 more books. I said the last one, but this was a recent read. I'm not going to talk about it too much again because it was in a 24-hour readathon that is coming up. So this is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I love this book. I thought it was funny. I thought it was witty. It was very comedic. It's about 4 old timers. They're in a retirement village, and in their spare time they have the Thursday Murder Club, where they go through cold cases and see if anybody has missed anything, and they try to piece things together, and they have solved a couple of cases. But when an active case happens on the retirement village premises, they jump in full force. They join forces with the police, and yeah, they try to solve this active case. It is really cute. Like, honestly, just seeing how they deal with technology and how they question and how they speak to people is I was gonna swear, is very hilarious, and I thought it was a great time. However, it was written like in a diary entry form, and I just felt like sometimes the writing was written like we're dumb, like they need to hold our hand and walk us through every single step. So it felt like it was written for an older demographic, but ultimately I did have a fun time. It took so quick to read because the writing and the font and the line spacing is massive, so it took me about 5 hours to read the whole thing. I obviously read it in one sitting. So yeah, I gave this a 3-star. Then the actual last mystery we have here for sure this time is The Quiet Tenant by Clemence Michelon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. Sorry, I haven't taken the sticker off yet. But again, I read this in a 24-hour readathon just to end it off because of A Darker Shade of Magic was putting me in a slump. down. But this book, again, it was quite slow and it went in a roundabout way to get to the point. We went through so many avenues just to get to a significant like plot point, and I felt like after 100 pages, surely you should be leading somewhere, but it took me maybe to the 200 page mark in order to like get anything. Even though the story is laid out for you ahead of time, you're trying to go backwards and work through what happened. So it follows the main male character, who's Aiden, and he is a serial murderer, or serial, I don't want to say the other word, and he kidnaps women and offs them. That's just his hobby and how he deals with pain. So his wife is dying of cancer, and in his spare time he does that. So one of the girls that he had kidnapped reminded him a lot of his daughter, so he ended up keeping her for 5 years. So he had her in a shed in the backyard, and after his wife passes away from the cancer, he needs to move, so he moves her in with him. And it's like Stockholm syndrome, but it kind of just follows how women have this survival instinct in them. She had plenty of times to try and escape, but she had to wait for the right moment because of the knock-on effect. Like if she escaped, like maybe his daughter would get the flack, or maybe someone else in his life. So she didn't want something like that. She set it up perfectly so that he had no way out, and he couldn't explain because he was like this martyr in their society, in their town, where he'd like help people fix cars, take old women to do their shopping. Like he was just that guy that everybody loved, kind of like Ted Bundy. So yeah, it was very interesting, but it took the longest route ever just to get to the point. And I don't want to read 200 pages to get a single plot twist. So 2 stars from me. Did I lie? No, I lie. This was 3 stars. It was 3 stars. I'm lying. For some reason, I charged my battery, but I'm back down to 1 bar. So hopefully I can make this quick. But next category, it was only a single book there, is Dark Academia, and I read Nocticadia. So Nocticadia is everything I thought a Dark Academia would be. I've tried it a few times now. I was going to say many times, but it's only been like 3 books that I really didn't enjoy. So firstly, we read Ninth House, which is right here. Ninth House, I just couldn't get into. It was the most difficult book to read. It took me about a month and a half to get through it. It was just too academic, and I was looking for the other elements rather than the academia, which I know is sometimes a part of it, but for me, Dark Academia is just in a setting of like academia and not necessarily just focused on academia. So The Cloisters was the same for me. Nocticadia was great. It had a mystery element. It was suspenseful. It was dark. It was atmospheric, and I absolutely loved it. It followed on main female character whose mother passed away from a weird illness, and she witnessed it. But for some reason, everybody's convinced her that this didn't happen. They said that her mom committed self-harm, but she knows in her mind that she didn't. And eventually people start making her feel like she's crazy. And when she gets an opportunity to go to this school, I think it's called Dracadia or something like that. She goes to the school on a scholarship because of this paper that she submitted into her community college. And she gets to go there, and this is actually the source of where her mom's illness came from. So she's investigating that. There's a professor involved, and it was fun. It was so much fun, and it ended up giving it a 4-star. So moving into the next category, which is romantasy or fantasy, whichever one you want to call it. So firstly, we read Enchantra. I didn't love it. I'm not gonna lie. I had a fun time. I gave it a 3-star, but it wasn't my favorite out of the 2 books. I just felt like the games, again, weren't gone into depth with, and I didn't really love Genevieve's character. She was very like, again, naive, and I think I just don't like naive main female characters because she acted like a know-it-all, but she really didn't know it all. And in this game that she entered into, like, her life was at stake. So I don't know why she would try to backchat and do all these silly things to get a rise out of the main male character in order to, you know, get her point across. And I just felt like, again, the games weren't really explained. It was more focused on the interaction between the main female character and the main male character. But Ophelia, the character from the first book, did make appearance in this, and I thought that was fun. So I gave it a 3-star. Like I said, it was okay, but there were multiple times during the book where I just wanted a DNF because I was just so annoyed with the main female character. Like, yeah, she was just in that situation. I just didn't think her behavior was appropriate. So unfortunately, that brought it down for me. Next was a reread, and I reread, that sounded weird, reread Reckless by Lauren Roberts in order to read the next book, and I loved it again. Oh my gosh, I read it really quickly. The first time I think I've read it really quickly as well, and I feel exactly the same about it. I'll link the vlog where I read this in up in the card so you can see my full feelings. But I did reread it. I did still give it a 4.5 star. Had so much fun. Kai and Peyton in this book are just my favorite, and I love like the cat and mouse effect of it. I loved getting to know them better, and it just felt real, like two teenagers like being silly and trying to get to know each other without telling each other that they love each other. And the ending of this book obviously was a shock for us all, and I couldn't wait for the third book in the series, which brings us to the next book, Fearless by Lauren Roberts. So my rating on this book isn't low. It isn't. But my feelings are not great. I was so disappointed by this book. I was, especially like because I read Reckless before in preparation for this book, was so excited to see what happened, and I didn't love the direction she took this in. Obviously, I can't tell you too much because it's a sequel and it will spoil it, but you can also watch my video with the new anticipated releases. Go watch that and you'll see a little bit more of my opinion, but I didn't want to say too much in this video because obviously there is a full reading vlog and it was just disappointing. I don't like what she did with a couple of characters. I didn't like that one character got a redemption arc when he didn't actually deserve it, and at the end it was just like 5 years later everybody's happy, but we don't know what happened to the society. We don't know if anything had changed. We don't know what is happening with the politics now and with being, I don't know, with the royalty and with this situation that went, no one knows. Like, it was just left like an open-ended ending, and I wasn't satisfied. I really wasn't satisfied. That's just my opinion, but yeah, it wasn't the best. Like, even that romance, that giddy feeling, that was all gone. It was all gone. So I was super disappointed. I didn't tell you my rating. I gave it a 3.5 star, which isn't low. 3.5 is quite high, but it's higher than like halfway. So 3.5 is almost a 4. So I still had fun with certain elements, but certain things, like I said, were just unnecessary in the story. Again, in my 24-hour readathon, I read Divine Rivals. So this I ended up giving a 3.5, 3.75. I liked the romance aspect of this. I really did, which is a lot coming from me because I normally like the political side and all of that thing, like the world building, like I love that. But the romance took prevalence in this and I did like it, but there were a lot of elements in the book that I didn't understand why were thrown in, but then not really discussed. So yeah, I don't know, but the video for this is coming up. 3.5, 3.75 again isn't bad, and it was close to a 4 star, but the ending just threw me off, and I was like, that was just honestly put there in order to have a sequel. So like, it just felt like it was misplaced. It was misplaced. Like, I felt like the story could have been rounded up. It's centered around Rowan, our main male character, and Iris, who is our female main character, and the two of them somehow communicate with these magical typewriters. He knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is, and she's accidentally given him like more information about herself than she intended to, but she is actually thinking that she's writing to her brother. One day she gets a response and it's him, and he's like, this is not Forrest, this is not your brother. So they still go back and forth, and things happen and things change, and they also work rivals, but he knows obviously her identity and she doesn't know his. But then they start this budding relationship. I wouldn't say call it budding, it's like basically enemies to lovers, and then yeah, things happen, and yeah, now it's not centered around typewriters anymore, so where's it gonna go from there? And that was my main issue. I was at the end of it, I was like, that doesn't seem logical, but yeah, that's just my feelings. But I do talk about it a lot more in my 24-hour readathon. I was very confused. My feelings were controversial about it. I know a lot of people gave this 5 star, but for me, it really wasn't. I got this from my library as well. I wouldn't recommend buying it immediately. If you did want to read it, like, I would get it from your library first, see what you feel about it. So lastly, we have a final category. Final. I promise you, this video is probably like 30 minutes long, but this is our final category. So I finished the Shatter Me series in order to read Watch Me. So the 3 books I had left was Defy Me, Imagine Me, and Believe Me. So the Believe Me is just a novella. I love this series. I would absolutely recommend it to everybody. It's not a 5-star series for me, but around a 4.5 stars, which is all the ratings I gave most of the book. Unfortunately, for the last 2 books, I did give a 4 star. The novella got a 2.5. It's really short, and I felt like it was really unnecessary in the series, and you didn't need it in order to finish this series as a whole. So I would say you don't need to read this, but I did get a box set, so naturally I read it. I just knocked my coffee over. Great. Sorry if my position has changed, but now everything stinks of coffee. But anyway, I don't even know where I was. But okay, Defy Me, Imagine Me. It rounded up the story really nicely, I will say. I found like some of Imagine Me was a little bit boring, and there were bits in it and I was like, I don't know if I completely believe it, but I did have fun reading this whole series. It was absolutely great. Shit hits the fan in the beginning of this book, like I was saying in my vlog, which you should definitely go watch. Shit hits the fan, but then there was a lull in the middle and I was like, why is this happening? I don't understand, but it's very, very interesting. I did also like Defy Me. I can't even remember where exactly this went. Oh yeah, there was lots of action in this one as well, and you get more of like Warner's true personality and Kenji just making everybody love him. It was absolutely great. So if you want to read the Shatter Me series, I'd say go for it. Just remember, it is young adult. It's not a lot of smut or anything like that. It's very simple. It's a very easy to read. There isn't a lot of world building. There are certain politics that are missing, but it's the relationships and the found family that I enjoyed mostly about it. I didn't read this for intellectual purposes. I read it because I loved Juliet, I love Warner, and I loved Kenji. So if you want a series where you can get attached to the characters like that, I would recommend. Then lastly, we had Watch Me, which is a spin-off series of Shatter Me. So this follows Warner and Adam's baby brother, and he's now 21 years old. The world is completely different because it's like 10 years later. Everything is different. Things are moving on. Things are deteriorating in other ways, but this was great. I love James's character. He's the perfect mix of Kenji and Warner, and the way he speaks, the way he's constantly swearing, and he's so full of himself. Absolutely loved it. It made me chuckle and I couldn't stop reading it. Honestly, it took me like a day and a half to read this, and I was doing a course as well. And we'd get 10-minute coffee breaks in my course and I'd just be reading. So it was amazing, and I gave this a 4.5 star. It was almost a 5 star, but it was the ending that got me and lowered the rating, because I feel like some things were alluded to during the book and then only revealed at the end. And I hate it when that happens. The same with Metal Slinger. Like, it came out of left field and I was like, why? What? How was that relevant? So that just brought it down for me a little bit, but ultimately I absolutely loved it and I can't wait for the rest of the series to come out. I just ran and made myself a fresh cup of coffee to end off this video because my battery did die and so did my mic. So hopefully you guys heard everything that happened at the end there. But these are all the books. This is probably the most in 2 months ever. 19 books if you count the 2 I didn't finish. 19 books. I'm so proud of myself. But with that being said, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll link all the videos up in the card, so go watch them if you want to see an in-depth review of all these books, and also a lot of facial expressions. Please also do share this video if you haven't already. I have some very exciting videos coming up in the next couple of months, and yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me again. I'll see you all next week for another video. Bye guys.